Good day, ladies and gentlemen, once again. We are still busy with exercise 3.1 on annuities. Exercise 3.1 on annuities. And we are busy with number B. And I said to you that an annuity is a series of equal payments that are made at regular intervals of time at the same interest rate. Now it says a person wishes to have 30,000 in a fund at the end of 9 years. This is how much he needs to have in the future. Hence the 30,000 is called the future value. And this chapter, guys, is for people who have dreams, people who wants to invest, people who wants to buy things in the future. And these people, they don't buy on credit. They opt for the best option to invest in order for them to reach to their target, because these accounts are really not favorable for the citizens, to be honest, with the accumulation of the interest rate and people getting to be blacklisted at the end of the day. So you can say that this person wishes to have 30,000 and he wants to save this on a monthly, on an annual basis. Let me continue. It says the fund earns interest at 14% per annum compounded annually. So this fund earns interest 14% compounded once a year. Then it says we do have our interest there sorted. We do have our future value. This is our I. It says calculate the annual, take note, the annual deposits, meaning the annual payments, which is our PMT. PMT is what we are looking for. How much must he pay every year in order for him to have 30,000 at the end of 9 years or after 9 years? Then it says the person must make deposits the person must make to enable him to reach his target. So how much must he pay every year in order for him to get to 30,000 of his target at the end of 9 years? So now we are looking for PMT. Remember, N will be 9 years. There we do have our N, 9 years, the number of times the payments will be made. So now let us calculate our N. We say, calculate our PMT. We say plus minus 30,000. 30,000 is what he needs in the future value. Interest is 14 compounded annually, divide by 1, which is once a year. You don't have to divide by 1 when it's compounded annually. Our N will be 9 because these payments will be made once a year because they are annual payments. Then after we say compute, and again at the end of the year, meaning it's an ordinary annuity. We're not using BGN yet, but later on we'll deal with BGN. Compute PMT. We are looking for the amounts that must be paid every month in order for this gentleman to reach to his target of 30,000 after 9 years. I think our calculator can also calculate our PMT. There we say PMT, future value is 30,000 rands. Payment frequency is yearly, compounded yearly. Then our number of payments is 9 payments. The interest rate is 14%. Payments are made at the end of the period, meaning payment mode. We compute 1,826. 1,826. 1,826.52. 1,826.52 is our monthly payments, meaning this person must our annual payments. This person must invest 1,826 every year in order for him to get 30,000 at the end of 9 years, earning interest of 14% per annum compounded annually. Let me just use my calculator. Second function alpha 00 plus minus 30,000 is the future value. 14 is the interest. 9 is N. Compute PMT. I get 1,865.05. I don't know why it's different. I get 1,865.05. Just verify what the calculator said. Sorry, I made a mistake there. I said half yearly. There maybe you have identified already. Then that was, then it's correct, 1,865.05. Compounded annually, payment frequency once a year, also annually. So the correct one is 1,865.5 cents. So that is the correct one. Thanks for that verification. Now we have calculated the payment. So now 1,865, 1,865.05 will be made for the next 9 years in order for this person to reach to his target of 30,000 rands. Then now the question is in the next part of the question, which is very lovely. The next part of the question says the interest rate dropped 1,865.05. The interest rate dropped to 10%. And the minute now there's a drop in the interest rate, meaning we will no longer pay the 1,865.05 for the next 9 years. Interest rate dropped to 10%. When did this interest rate drop? From the 1st of the 5th month, meaning we are going to make 4 payments of 1,865.05 for 4 years. At the beginning of the 5th year, then the interest rate changes. The minute now, guys, there is a change in the interest rate, the old annuity will end, then a new annuity will start. Why that is the case? Because an annuity is a series of equal payments that are made at irregular intervals of time at the same interest rate. So when there is a change in the interest rate, the old annuity will stop just before the change of the interest rate, meaning at the end of year 4, which is the beginning of year 5. So we need to know the future value at the end of year 4. Then let me just draw a line here once again. Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. How much are we paying? We're paying 1,865.05 throughout year up to the last payment, 1,865.05. These are the payments, and these payments qualify to be an annuity because it's a series. They are equal. They are made at the regular time interval, which is every year. The interest rate is the same as 14%. So the minute now there is a change in the interest rate, this will be 5, 6, 7, 8, somewhere there will be 9. Now the minute there is a change, remember this change does not take place necessarily beginning of year 4. It's also the end of beginning of year 5, end of year 4. So at the end of year 4, we made a payment. Beginning of year 5, which is at the end of year 4, at the same time there was a change in the interest rate. So now meaning the payment at the end of year 5 will no longer be at the same interest rate, 14%, and year 6, year 7, year 8, year 9, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The next 5 years will be at 10%. That is why I said to you before, you always need to calculate the future value of the future value on the last date of the annuity. We need the future value at the end of year 4 here. So now that future value will be calculated using the same amount when the interest rate was at 14%. So let us do that calculation now, and we say we have plus minus 1865.05 is our PMT. Our interest is at 14%, N is 4 years. Then what are we calculating? We're calculating the future value of the payments before there was a change in interest rate. Then we need to calculate that future value before there was change in interest rate. Then we say payments are made at the end of the period and everything is annually, but we are looking for the future value now. We are paying 1,865.05 for how many years? For 4 years, interest at 14%, payments made at the end of the year or end of the period. Then we compute future value. It is 9,178.18. Manual calculator, 1,000 or plus minus 1,865.05 is our PMT. We have 14, which is I, we have 4, which is N. Compute future value 9,178. Yes, the amount is correct. I'm just verifying this because we're still beginning this calculation. 9,178.18. So this is now our number 2 that we're busy with. This is our number 2. Then we have the future value. Remember, this future value is at the end of year 4. So now this amount will earn interest up until the end of year 9. So now we need to say this future value becomes the present value, where now we change the future value to become the present value so that it accumulates interest without any deposits now. Accumulate interest for year 5, year 6, year 7, year 8, and year 9, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this amount will accumulate interest for the next 5 years. So now this is where we're focusing. Now we are saying our future value become the present value. Plus minus 19,000 or 9,000 plus minus 9,178.18 is our PV. Our interest now has changed to 10%. Remember, the interest here I was equal to 14% here. Now from year 5, our I is equal to 10%. Why? Because there was a change in the interest rate. Now this amount will no longer be earning interest at 14% but at 10%, because it was clearly stated that there was a change in the interest rate, and that interest rate changed to 10%. I'm going to the wrong page. Interest rate dropped to 10%, meaning it dropped by 4%. I want to highlight that it dropped by 4% from the beginning of year 5. So now we continue. The question was compute the new payment starting end of year 5 in order for him to reach his required target of 30,000 at the end of year 9. Now we have counted that one. Then our N will be 5 because it will be year 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which is 5 years. Then we compute the future value. Guys, again, whenever there is an annuity, meaning a series of equal payments, and those payments they stop, you calculate the future value on the date or on the time there was a stoppage in the payments. Then after that future value, you change it to become the present value, and that present value must accumulate interest up until the end of the time or term or end of the term, of which our term now is 5 years. And the previous two questions, they were dealing exactly with that, and also here we are dealing with the same scenario. So now we need the future value, where now we say plus minus 9,178.18 is our present value, 10 is our interest, 5 is our n, compute future value. Then the future value now of the amount after the payments have stopped is 14,781 rand 55 cents. This is the amount at the end of year 9. This is what we have at the end of year 9. This is what is sitting there at the end of year 9. But now the amount that we have at the end of year 9 is not equivalent to the amount that we need to have. Remember, in this case, we are calculating the future value of the payments up to the date where they stopped, and to say these payments will earn interest up until end of year 9. Now, after they have earned interest, they will become 14,781.55. And this amount is not what we need. How much this gentleman or this person need? He needs 30,000, and this is not 30,000. So now, how much must he pay every year? Because the question was compute the new annual payments starting at the end of year 5 in order for him to reach his required target of 30,000. That means he still wants to continue with the payments, but at the changed interest rate. So now how much will the new payments change up to, considering the fact that now there's a change in the interest rate? So we need to know that how much is left first, how much balance is remaining. So we need to say the remaining balance or amount needed, amount required or amount needed. The amount that it needs is 30,000 minus the balance of 14,781.55. So now we need to say how much does he need. Minus 30,000. This is the amount that is still left, 15,218 rand 45 cents. So this is the amount that he needs. Then the question, how much must he pay every month at 10%, or how much must he pay every year at 10% per annum compounded annually in order for him to raise this amount, so that we say the 15,000 plus the 14,000, which will give the 30,000 that he needs. So how much must the new payments amounts to? That's the question. Compute the new annual payments starting end of year 5 in order for him to reach his target of 30,000 at the end of year 9. So that is what we are busy with. Then I will say this is how much he needs in the future. He needs this amount in the future, because we know that he has already managed to raise the 14,000, because we know that 4 years of payments will be made, but because of the change of the interest rate now, there must be a new payments amount. The payments must change. Why? Because there was a change in the interest rate. Therefore, now the question is how much will be those payments. Then we need to say plus minus 15,000 to 18.45 is what he needs in the future. Interest is at 10% now. Our N is 5 years, because we'll be paying for the next 5 years the 10%. We are computing the PMT, how much must he pay now that in the next 5 years, with the remaining balance of 15,000 to 18.45 is the available balance. How much must he pay? Then we go to our calculator once again. We say future value plus minus 15,000 to 18.45 is the future value. 10 is the interest. 5 is N. We compute PMT. How much must he pay now every month? He must pay now every year 2,492 rand 74 cents. This is the amount this person must pay every year from year 5, year 6, year 7, year 8, year 9. in order for him to raise the remaining balance of 15,000 to 18.45, so that after he raised this balance, we can add to that 14,781.55, and those balance will sum up to 30,000, which is the amount that he needs at the end of year 9. And now, guys, this is very important, and you can see that when there was a drop in the interest rate to 10%, there was an increase in the payments. Interest rate drop, payments increase, because previously the payments were 1,865 rand 5 cents, but because of the change in the interest rate, and now there was a massive there was a little increase from 1.8 to 2,400 of the monthly payments to pay the remaining balance every year for the next 5 years. Now, once again, guys, we've been doing the same thing, and I've been repeating it and emphasizing it to you. And I want to emphasize for the close last time. We calculated the payments, and we identified that this person needs to pay 1,865. But because there was a change in the interest rate from 14% to 10%, meaning end of year 4, there was a change in the interest rate which became effective for year 5. So we needed to calculate the future value for the first series of equal payments. Then after we get to this future value here, which that future value amounted to 9,000, we needed to accumulate that 9,000 up until the end of the term. Don't forget that, guys, all the time. We needed to change that future value to become present value, and we accumulate it to become the future value at the end of the term. Then after we say, this is how much will be in the account. This is how much will be in the account at the end of year 9. Then now at the end of year 9, this is what will be in the account. How much this gentleman needs? This gentleman needs 30,000 rands. That's what he needs. But 14,000 is not the same as 30,000. So how much he still need to raise? He still need to raise 15,000. So 30,000 minus at the 14,781.55, we discover that 15,218 is what he still need to raise. And this gentleman is saying, I am willing to pay every year from year 5 at the lower interest rate. I still want to make the payments at the new interest rate, but how much must I pay now that the interest rate went down? Therefore now we say the remaining future balance, we need to use it as the future value to calculate the new payments. Therefore now the new payments amounted to 2,492.74 cents. This is very lovely, guys. We are going a little bit deep, and the next question is not that much complex. We are going to be dealing with all these different scenarios. Number C, number D, very lovely. Also change in the interest rate. Please await to come and listen to this one once again, where there's a change in the interest rate and payments having to change or remain the same. Then we go to number E once again. Then after we're coming to 3.2, and I can't wait for 3.2. Very lovely scenario that I have installed for you there. Thank you, guys. See you in the next recording.